Assassin's Creed is a long-established franchise published by Ubisoft with 13 games as of January 2024. I've personally played Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, 3, and Black Flag. I've always heard other people online praise the game that started it all. Is Assassin's Creed still good? Let's find out.
Yes, your file indicated as much.
Oh my God. I had a terrible first impression of the game. It was pretty obvious that Ubisoft just threw together a low-effort, unpolished PC port for an old game just to have it in a store for it to get any type of sales. The game stuttered every couple minutes or so, and within a 30-minute time period of me playing the game, it stuttered 18 times. And halfway through me playing in the first 30 minutes or so, the game already crashed. When I selected the controls for me to use a controller, the button mapping wasn't even correct. On the top right button layout, the direction of the button that I'm pressing wouldn't be the actual button that I'm pressing, and that was super confusing and it didn't feel right. So I had to remap the controls even more than I had to. When I launched the game, it was in full screen mode, but when I go into the settings, there's no dedicated full screen mode option. So I found this out the hard way, and I alt-tabbed out of the game to do something else, and when I tried to alt-tab back in, it was stuck in windowed mode for the rest of the time the program was on. So if I wanted to be back into full screen mode, I would have to restart the game completely and not alt-tab. I dealt with the stuttering and the weird controls for about 30 minutes until I just had enough and I had to put the game down. For the game to stop stuttering, I had to go on a Steam forum, and the solution for me to stop the stuttering was to go into one of the game's files and copy and paste something into it for the game to stop stuttering. I was so close to refunding this game on Steam, and I got it on sale in a bundle. That's how bad my first impression experience of this game was.
Attention. If you or a loved one was diagnosed with mesothelioma.
This game was released in 2007.
Damn! I'm sorry.
And the graphics really show its age. The environments and cities felt pretty cool and unique in their own different way, especially with the different kingdoms having their own unique feel to them. The character models look good for their purpose, but they bug out here and there and they look kind of funny because of the low resolution. Basically, go into this with low expectations when it comes to graphics.
It's the biggest piece of dog shit.
Dude, where do I even begin? Playing the game felt like a huge chore. I only cared about the story than actually playing the game because it was such an unenjoyable and uninspiring experience to actually play the game. I honestly think that it's a miracle that a sequel for this game got greenlit, because the parkour in this game, which is its, one of its main selling points, was so inconsistent and frustrating. It felt wonky, it felt stiff, it felt unintuitive. It was very frustrating to deal with. Sometimes the parkour won't work even though the spot that you're trying to move towards is obviously a spot that you can parkour to. For example, if you're climbing a wall and you obviously see a ledge, Altair would just sit there and look in that direction, and that's it. Won't even do anything else. When it comes to seeing how Altair moves from jumping ledge to ledge, it looks really stiff because it looks like he's snapping towards these ledges instead of flowing into a certain direction that I'm running towards. It doesn't look like it's naturally flowing like it's supposed to. When jumping off of a building, you're supposed to arc naturally, but in this game, the arc will cut off 3/4 of the way, so you'll look like you just stop in the middle of your jump and you just fall straight down instead of naturally arcing towards a direction. And it happens to you and to NPCs as well, and it makes dramatic moments in a cutscene really not dramatic. It makes the game just look really unpolished. When it comes to climbing up big towers to synchronize and to reveal more of what's going on in the map, I know it's a tall building and there's only one way to go up, but can we at least switch it up and have different ways to go up different towers? forest. Like there are some buildings that I distinctly remember that you had to go up in a unique way, but 90% of other buildings, you were going up the same exact way. After climbing a tall building, sometimes the leap of faith wouldn't even work and I would just die upon landing in the hay. So that forced me to have to manually climb back down from a tall building and not just jump off and do the leap of faith. The sword fighting felt so inconsistent. When an enemy gets knocked down to the ground, sometimes the sword attacks won't even hit them because their hitbox is on the ground and the sword just wouldn't hit the hitbox. When using the counter, it felt very inconsistent because there would be times where I felt like I hit it at the right time to counter, and at other times it would just miss completely and I would get hit for it and punished. Maybe there's a skill issue with me using the counter, but at times I would not be rewarded for it. And it was very frustrating to deal with because I was dealing with multiple enemy NPCs at one time if I was in a sword fight. There wasn't much enemy variety, so I was sword fighting the same type of enemies. It was either a regular soldier, an archer, or an armored type person. And the only distinction is that the regular guys are just regular sword fighters. The archers can shoot arrows and sword fight, and the armored type can defend against getting grabbed and getting countered. So those are the only enemies that you are dealing with for the entirety of the game. When I got into a sword fight, it always felt like it dragged out longer than it needed to be because sometimes the counter wouldn't insta-kill the enemies. It would just, stun them or knock them down. Majority of the time, if I get into a sword fight, I'm fighting at least 3 to 10 other NPCs at the same time. They just keep respawning new NPCs and I'm stuck in a loop of just having to attack every single person. Or I just have to run away and hide. At the end of the game, they just throw wave after wave of enemy NPCs at you to a sword fight, and it's very boring because you're either countering or you're grabbing or you're just dealing with the inconsistent sword fighting. After unlocking throwing knives, I just started abusing them because it made the game a lot more enjoyable and easy to go through because I didn't have to deal with the inconsistent parkour or the boring sword fighting. The throwing knives would just lock on and you just throw it and that's it. It's an instant kill majority of the time. The fist fighting was super boring because you're either hitting them or they're hitting you or you're blocking their hit. It's literally just a back and forth of me and an NPC hitting each other with our fists. The Ubisoft AI is either really dumb or really aggressive and there's no in between, especially towards the end of the game where the cities are in high alert because all of these people are suddenly getting assassinated. It feels very unfair when the enemies can spot you with their back turned, and then when they do see you, they'll instantly engage on you. For a game that wants you to play stealthy, it doesn't reward you to play stealthy. The AI makes it really difficult for you to play stealthy, and I just ended up not being that stealthy in general because of how unrewarding it was to play stealthy. The gameplay loop was very repetitive. When you're going through the game, you are doing the same thing pretty much over and over again. You will talk to someone at the Assassin's Bureau. You will investigate at least 3 times. Go back and talk to the person at the Assassin's Bureau and then assassinate your target. And it's the same thing for each assassination target. The only difference is that you're sometimes in a different kingdom. That's about it. The portions of the game where I was playing as Desmond were really boring. I didn't feel like I needed to play Desmond. The whole thing could have just been a cutscene and it would have been fine that way. But playing as Desmond was super boring and pointless to me. When it came to the investigations, you could pickpocket, intimidate, you can do timed parkour trials, you can do archer assassinations, Templar assassinations. The parkour in the game was already inconsistent and made the game not fun. There was no on-demand fast travel, so I was forced to use the inconsistent parkour to travel around. The maps in this game are really big. You have each individual kingdom, and then you have the roads between the kingdoms. So you have a lot of area to play with, but when it comes to doing stuff in the map, it's the Ubisoft formula. You're going onto an icon on the map to do it, and that's it. That's not fun. That's boring busy work. I bumped into a bug that made me redo an entire assassination mission because my assassination target got glitched into the wall, and when I assassinated him inside of the wall, it made me trap inside of the wall as well, so I had to restart the whole assassination mission. Why the fuck are the beggars even here? What do? They're just there to be annoying as hell, and they only go to me. They don't go to anybody else. Why am I being the only one that gets pushed by these guys and no one else? I know that these two NPCs were added into the game to add some extra spice to it, but all it did was ruin the gameplay even more by making things annoying. Being able to move during conversations between Altair and the NPCs really broke immersion. It would have been better if there were actual cutscenes than just freely roaming around while these two characters have a conversation with each other.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
The story being the only thing that I was looking forward to in this game after realizing how bad the game played. It was alright. It's cool to see Altair get character development throughout the story. Altair starts off as an arrogant asshole ignoring the Creed's values, and by the end of the game he ends off as a likable character that lives with the Creed's values. The leader of the Assassin's Creed takes away all of Altair's skills and makes him relearn how to be an assassin that follows the Creed's values, and each assassination target is a way for Altair to regain his skills and weapons. When assassinating these targets with Altair, we get to see what Altair is experiencing as he's assassinating these targets and having conversations with them, and we get to see the questions that develop in Altair's mind on why he's even doing this to these people, and if these are even the right people he should be going after in the first place. Some of Altair's targets were obviously evil in intent and action, while others were good in intent but made very horrific actions. There's a plot twist in the end where the leader of the Assassin's Creed ends up being the bad guy, and Altair somehow kills the guy despite having the Piece of Eden, which is a magic ball that makes him OP, but Altair is just him and kills him anyway. There's a cliffhanger of Desmond seeing symbols on the wall as assassins attack the Templar building that's holding Desmond. The plot twist was really cool, I guess, but it was mostly jarring and I was really confused after the cliffhanger happened. So, is the game good? No, it's not good. You're better off watching a YouTube video explaining the story to you than to buy this game on sale and play it yourself. And me saying this is really heartbreaking because I went into this really wanting to like the game and enjoy the story, but it just did not measure up to my expectations. But what do I know? I'm just some dude on the internet.